Yeah,
Peace,
yeah.
guys.
You want to send it
Yeah,
to
I
him?
think
Hey.
Welcome.
Yeah, I think some people, peace and welcome. Thanks for coming. I think some people are asking, where can we get resources? How do we talk to these people? And our primarily source of kind of communication right now is on Discord. It's on our Discord server, discord.gg/submission. And that's where we spend our time. It has a verification system. We had a lot of Muslims, a lot of Sunnis attacking us, trying to hack us, trying to, do all kinds of vicious things. I get death threats all the time. I get doxxed, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we have a
Yeah.
verification
We know what
system.
that's like.
We try to
Yeah. So, so yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was just finishing up there. Unless David, you wanted to take it
Oh
somewhere.
yeah,
else.
Hussam, if you want, Hussam, if you actually want to, if you want to send it, if you want to send me the link by email, I'll toss it in the description. I'll toss it in the description. That way, everyone has it there.
I'll do that right.
So, yeah. So just to clarify where I was going, so so the terminology, you guys accept Muslim and Islam, but that has been abrogated later on, and you guys no longer identify as Muslims or practicing Islam unless you clarify, like this is what we mean when we say that. We don't mean Sunni or
Yes.
Shia. Okay.
Yes.
And then when it comes to source of authority, it's primarily what Rashad Khalifa has to say in his commentaries, right, in his fatwas,
Yes.
his legal rulings.
Yes.
And
Yes.
his translation, right? So what role does like the Arabic Quran play in terms of authority? Like if someone cites to you the Arabic Quran that differs from his translation, how would you guys what would you respond? How would you respond to that?
We would not accept that. I mean, I think the Arabic Quran could have secondary function in
Oh,
terms of
okay.
like, yeah, well, when I say that, I'm talking about like, okay, we have a dispute over let's look at it like this. Every Arabic word in the Quran can have a range of meanings from 5 to 85 or more, right? And so if any Joe Schmo just comes up here, that's what happened with the Quran is, and we could talk about that in a moment. But basically, they can pick and choose how they want to interpret or translate any given word. Then you have infinite permutations. And every time I debate these guys, I bring that up. I said, look, your religion is infinite permutations. You lack authority. You have no capacity to establish a coherent religion. I get it. You're excited about leaving, traditional Islam, and you want to kind of chart your own path, but ultimately you're at a dead end because you don't have that authority. There's no way for you guys to organize. So
Okay.
you need the ultimate decider through God's system in the Quran is the messenger, and the messenger sets the parameters, sets the framework, and then within that framework, there might be some minor investigative stuff that we can do to help us better understand the Quran. We do that. We look at the Arabic words and the roots, but it's kind of like a reverse engineering system. Whereas, okay, we're looking at it in the context of his teachings, of his translation, of his understandings. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Is my sound
So
coming
so
through?
his translation.
One second, Jai. I just something along those lines.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out that Sunnis, just because we're normally interacting with Sunnis, they also have a similar issue of interpretation in that it's different from the Quranists. But if you go to a commentary like Qurtubi or something like that, he'll give you 14 different interpretations of one verse. And it's like what I've noticed lots of Sunnis will do is they'll pick the one they like the best and just go with that and then act like that is what the Quran is saying. So yeah, they have that kind of picking and choosing what they want issue.
They do, and they're even known for the different madahib or the different schools of thought have different levels of dietary restrictions. They say, oh, the Malikis are less strict than the others or whatever. So they're stuck too, but it's less visible because the main practices and main functions collaborate to some extent. But when it comes to Quranists, if they don't even agree on the concept of prayer at all, let alone how to perform the prayer, which direction to face, they're even more shattered, more broken than any Protestant church divide. So they're totally cooked in that regard. That's why they
Right.
they
They have
outnumber
no
us all.
authority, no hierarchy. They lack a complete authoritative system. Right. At
There's,
least with with the church, you've got the
yeah, so
church,
that
you've got the church fathers,
so even
but
the
they lack
that's
that completely. The Sunnis,
e-
yeah.
yeah,
Go
so
on, go on.
so the Sunnis have a little bit more structure, but the Quranists, even though they outnumber us 100 to 1, they cannot form masjids. They have no places of worship because what are they supposed to do in them? So we do have places of
Not a single
worship.
one.
So that's a
And
that's a
Right.
that's a difference.
yeah, and one follow up to what Jai was saying. So he was asking about the Rashid Khalifa translation, and so that's in English.
Yeah, right,
What
right.
would like different languages. Like let's suppose people wanted the Quran in like Chinese or something like that. Would there be an effort to
Yeah,
translate it, or?
so actually, during the life of Rashad, he started authorizing different translations in other languages, but the base was his English. So, I mean, today in today's context, I think you would just use AI or whatever. We actually have a bunch of them in different languages. Some did it manually, some with AI, and compare it back, to the English to know the context and the meaning based on the English. I mean, there's many examples of this because you ask Muslims, translate a verse and it has some, strange Arabic idiom in it. They're not going to be able to translate it, right? And so,
Right.
two
There's
birds
a
with one
video
stone.
of Sheikh Uthman not being able to translate the Arabic himself, right? If I'm not wrong, was that
Yeah,
with you know what I'm saying? So this is
yeah,
Sheikh,
yeah.
like, and
We're
we
familiar
So
we
with
yeah,
test them
Sheikh
all the time
Uthman.
with this.
Yeah.
right. So in the
Uh,
case of
Yeah.
Rashad, we're saying he lifted the veil on this. And so the verse that sounds like it's saying commit suicide, or it sounds like, these weird stuff. And maybe you heard of this Solomon verse where the traditional translations say, the angels threw a skeleton on the throne of Solomon and then he submitted, and all this kind of weird scenarios. Rashad was able to, through Angel Gabriel, know the correct meaning of those words and put them into uh, uh, the correct presentation and interpretation of those verses. Obviously, we would just take those and translate to whatever language to get the core meanings across and cross-reference the English.
okay, so that translation is like that's the ultimate authority in terms of what the
That's
Quran. If
it.
someone says what is the Quran, that's the Quran, not some
Well,
like. So you guys don't recite the Quran in Arabic, for example. You guys don't recite it in Arabic.
we don't recite the Quran in Arabic, and we understand. And there's a verse in the Quran that says you should not recite the Quran in Arabic to people that don't know Arabic. That's in
Yes.
chapter 26, 198 and 199, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to verify it here. Yeah. So it says the Quran must be translated. That's the title of Rashad. It says 198. If we
Yeah.
revealed this to people who do not know Arabic and had them recited in Arabic, they could not possibly believe in it. So he really emphasizes this concept. You got to translate it for people. And so basically here we're saying that the message of the Quran, the Arabic Quran that Prophet Muhammad delivered, is being presented by Rashad Khalifa in the English translation and his commentary. It's all kind of one
Okay.
package of presenting that.
So I think I'll just be real quick with this last part, and then you guys can continue on wherever David wants you to go, wherever you guys want to go. But so do you make any distinction between the terms messenger and prophet? Because I heard you distinguish
Yes.
between Muhammad as okay, you do
Yes.
make a distinct. Okay, so what would that distinguishment be?
Yeah. So the Quran tells us that Muhammad is the final prophet. That's in 3340. But at the
Okay.
same time, the Quran tells us in 735 that there are more messengers coming, and it speaks in the present tense, "O you people," and then watch for the messengers are coming. Specifically, God tells us in 381 that there's one specific messenger known as the messenger of the covenant that's coming to confirm all existing scriptures. As you know, there's maybe 30 or more versions of the Quran today, and there's different issues with the Arabic text of the Quran around the world. And one of the functions of the messenger and code 19 was to confirm, okay, what even is the Quran? Is it Hafs? Is it Warsh? Is it Qalun? Is it Duri? All these different ones with different meanings, variations in law, variations in words, variations in spellings. And the common understanding of Muslims is just wrong. They think, oh, well, all Qurans are identical to each other. That's just not the case.
Okay.
So that's one of the functions of Code 19 and Rashad Khalifa, of being able to identify the correct version of the Quran that we are to uphold.
Okay, so in terms of functional role between a messenger and a prophet, like some Muslims will, I mean, Sunni Muslims, for example, let's say like, one comes with a book, for example. So do you guys
Yeah.
make those distinctions?
Yeah,
Or?
so the Quran, yes, the Quran teaches every time the word prophet occurs in Arabic is nubuwah, it comes with scripture. So prophet and
Okay.
scripture come hand in hand. Muhammad's the final prophet, and he brought the final scripture, and Rashad Khalifa is a messenger, not a prophet.
Okay, so he's a
afterwards.
messenger. So Rashad Khalifa
Yeah.
is a messenger. He's not a prophet
Not a
for
prophet.
you guys. Okay, now he was Egyptian, correct?
Correct.
Yes, he was an Egyptian American.
Egyptian American. Okay, so in the Quran, for example, chapter 14, verse 4, how does he translate chapter 14, verse 4?
Yeah, I can read it for you. I have it here. Let's see.
Okay.
7,
So,
6. So fourth.
just
Yeah.
you can just read it first if that's okay.
Yeah. So he says, messenger's language. We did not send any messenger except to preach in the tongue of his people in order to clarify things for them. God does then sends astray whomever he wills and guides whomever he wills. He is the Almighty, the most wise.
Okay. Now, does he offer any commentary on that verse?
Here in the translation, he just has a subtitle that says the messenger's language, and then in parentheses he has to preach. But I
Okay.
think I
So
understand where you're going with your, yeah.
how I understand it, and that's why I want to know your understanding. But how I understand it is that each messenger is sent to a specific people group in their language. So if he's a messenger, not a prophet, if he's a messenger and he's Egyptian, he's sent to his people, supposed to be in their language. How would he explain that verse, or am I
Yeah.
misunderstanding it according to your
Yeah,
perspective?
so, well, first of all, he did not proclaim messengership in Egypt, and he wasn't sent to Egypt. He was already in America for, what, 10 to 20, 30 years by that point. He came here in the 50s, and he was here up until his death in 1990. So
He
he
was a native
proclaims
Arab speaker
himself,
too.
he
So
was
he
a
was a
native
native
Arabic speaker,
He did
but
speak to the Arabs.
yes,
But yeah, he
but
was
he got his,
mainly
but he,
in America.
yeah, but he got his master's degree and PhD in America. He was proficient in the English language,
That's
and
fine.
he
Yeah.
proclaims. Well, I just want
Yeah.
to say this in his proclamation of messengership. I think it's May 1988, Submitter's Perspective. He proclaims that he's the messenger to America, and America is the heart of submission, and America is the English speaking, the core of the English speaking world. So his main language to the world is English, and that's basically the
Okay.
most broadest language of the world. That makes sense to me, at
And
least.
but you don't think you don't think his message is limited to English though, right? Are you saying that it's for everybody, or is it just for the English speakers?
Well,
I believe no.
he seems to be proclaiming to the world, right? His message to the world, as he explains it, was proclaiming
The
messengership to the world.
the avenue,
The
yeah,
unifying messenger.
the avenue of
Yep,
accessing the whole world is the English language now. So,
correct.
um,
Okay.
and so he proclaims it in English easily. The most translatable language on earth is English. So
Okay.
we can access people everywhere in the world, especially now with AI with English.
Okay. So yeah, so just to make that point clear, so chapter 14, verse 4, that a messenger is sent to his people in their language. You guys are saying that he is sent to all people in English, and that's how you guys understand that verse, right?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, David, wherever you want to go next with them.
Yeah, I have another question, and then there are some questions in the chat. I don't know if you guys want to cover those
Sure.
now, but I had a question which will be especially interesting to Christians on the topic of the crucifixion of Jesus, because I'm looking at the Khalifa translation here, and we've noticed as far as translations. It's basically Surah 4, verse 157 in most translations sounds like Jesus didn't die and wasn't crucified, but in 355, Surah 3, verse 55, in the Arabic, it's saying, I'm taking your soul away, which sounds like he's going to die. So I just want to read the translations, and because I have no idea what your view is, but it'll be something that's interesting to Christians. So I'll just read them real quick. So this is Surah 4, verse 157, and for claiming that they killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of God. In fact, they never killed him. They never crucified him. They were made to think that they did. All factions who are disputing in this matter are full of doubt concerning this issue. They possess no knowledge. They only conjecture. For certain, they never killed him. And then 355 says, thus God said, "O Jesus, I am terminating your life, raising you to me." So there, 355, which is what it sounds like in Arabic. It sounds like, "Hey, I'm ending your life," which sounds like you're dying and not being raised up as you are. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, we understand the body of Jesus was crucified. Body of Jesus was crucified, but prior to that, his soul was removed, meaning that he did not experience the suffering, the torture, the interrogation, or the death. So this reconciles all of that. We don't believe because with the traditional Muslims, they're like, oh, it was just a different guy or something. But it's like, okay, well, where's the body of Jesus? So no, Rashad Khalifa proclaims, he actually says one of his main duties is to proclaim they explain the death of Jesus. So I mean, and he explains it in the footnote of that verse. He says, Jesus, the real person, the soul, was raised in the same manner in the death of any righteous person. Subsequently, his enemies arrested, tortured, and crucified his living but empty body. And so he has a whole appendix where he talks about this more. It's appendix 22 of his translation. But that's the general concept that we adhere to, we uphold.
I mean, there is a like a mirroring of how God, it does say in the Bible too that Jesus is going to offer the body, or the body of Christ is going to be offered, and that's like sort of how we reconcile that too. We try to, like unlike the Muslims again, we do see we do see the legitimacy in the Bible, and we have a amazing solution for this Islamic dilemma. The Islamic dilemma does work on the Muslims, the Sunnis, because they lock themselves into the hadith, which again throws them into a dilemma, which we're aware of. We actually use it against them at times as well. But I've had a couple discussions in length with Avery, with God Logic, on this topic as well. The first time we spoke, he said he really enjoyed it. We were having a sort of good back and forth. Last couple of times, I think it got a little bit more heated. It was a bit over exhausted from the Sunnis himself, but I completely get it. We have good relations with Christians, because we don't, again, regardless of even if we see that if we see them as idol worshippers, mushriks, we have no right to attack anyone, to hurt them. There's no compulsion in religion. We cannot force nothing on no one. Like there's a huge difference in this. We see a unification, or just to be able to live in harmony with each other, right? So that's the
Yep. But
main goal.
I just wanted to also say on the topic of Jesus, so in Appendix 22 of Rashad's translation, he also presents verses of the Bible. He presents Mark and Luke, and he gives the examples that, they made all kinds of allegations and accusations against Jesus, and he just didn't speak anymore. It's Mark 15 and Luke 23. So this Rashad presents these as additional evidence. But ultimately, to answer the first question, yeah, we do believe the body of Jesus was crucified and tortured.
And then, just to be clear, so in chapter 3, verse 55, God says, Inni mutawaffika. The word mutawaffika means I'm going to cause you to die. And anytime that word is used in the Quran, it's literally, they even
Mutawafika.
translated themselves, as to cause someone to die. But here, this is where they change it. So when God said he's going to take him up, he wasn't referring to the physical body, he was referring to the soul. Like if you ask me where my grandma is and I say, oh, she's with God now, am I referring to the physical body, or am I just saying that she's dead in a nice way? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how we understand mutawafika, and I think it can also. I think Allah can take your soul away and then put it back if you're just asleep or something like that. But if he just says he takes it away, that means death.
Yeah, and that shows a clear distinction between the body and the soul. Because when we're sleeping and the soul is up, the body's still moving, it's still reactive. Like some people, they sleep talk, or you wake up on the other side of the bed. So like the body is not dead, just the soul.
All right, we've got some questions and so on in the chat. Do you guys want to? Do you have other stuff you want to talk about?
Sure, let's go for it.
Okay, and these are just I'm just pulling up the super chats now, so some of these might be totally off topic or just directed to me about something. But that's a super sticker from Ida. Thanks, Ida. Be safe, D Wood. Oh yeah, safe is my middle name. Let's see. John Toland's latest book, 2025, says that there is no hard evidence that Muhammad destroyed the idols on top of the Kaaba. Do you agree? I don't know if you guys have a position on that.
Yeah, we do actually. That's interesting. So it's fascinating that in the Quran, there's no reference to physical statues or idols at the time of the Prophet Muhammad. There is a concept of Alad, Manat, and Uzza, but there is no reference to any physical statues in Arabia at that time. In fact, archaeologically, this has been analyzed. I think by the 4th century, Arabia had moved away from physical statues. So we see statues in the time of Noah, that's referenced in the Quran, and we see statues at the time of Abraham that they're worshiping. But at the time of Muhammad, we don't have that. And I don't think there's any archaeological evidence of it, and I don't think the Quran never references it. So we are of the position that most likely there were no physical statues or breaking of idols in this form at the Kaaba at the time of Prophet Muhammad.
Hey Dizzle, what's your email so I can grab your Islamic pamphlets? I promise not to dox you. You can, and then the other one. Please provide the pamphlet and a website share link. Ozzy Abe, you can get my email address on my just YouTube homepage. You'll have to click on it and you can get it there. Let's see. Can you do forensic analysis stream? I guess this is this towards us? Hang on. Can you do forensic analysis stream on all that happened from when the enemies of Isa went to capture Isa up to the time Allah raised Isa and invite Muslims to come explain to us? Not sure exactly what you're
Maybe like tracking down the true followers of Jesus or something. Maybe that idea.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's saying from an Islamic perspective because he's he's saying Isa and so on. So I don't know exactly. Leave just a regular comment later, main, and you can explain exactly what you mean there. If you're saying like from Sunni sources, explain exactly what happened to Isa, you can't, because that's another issue where you could go to 10 commentaries and get 10 different explanations of what happened. So that would be a hard one if that's what you're talking about. How do they reconcile parts of the Quran that disagree with the Bible, like King Solomon doing magic that was found in false books, and or Abraham's story changes or the Joseph story changes? So it sounds
that's sort of the what we. This is the Muhammad argument you guys would probably are familiar with. Chapter 5, verse 48 talks about how the Quran is after the previous scriptures and supersedes them. Now, or as that word is famously translated as a guardian over them. And the way that it works is, like, I can give you an example aside from these ones as well, is that, for instance, in the Bible, I believe it's in Exodus, it mentions Pharaoh for the king of the time of Joseph. The Quran corrects that by calling him Malik in the Quran, but then in the Bible it will say again Pharaoh. But Pharaoh, if looking at Egyptology, the term Pharaoh is bound to have been derived during the 19th or the 18th or 19th dynasty of Egyptology. But during Joseph's time, which is the 14th dynasty, that term was not used. So the Quran sort of makes it's basically confirmation with minor corrections. That's really how the actual thing is, because we affirm, and Rashad himself, Rashad Khalifa says this as well, that roughly 90% of the Bible is accurate to what history it says.
That'd be an interesting discussion to have about your guys' view on the Islamic dilemma, because obviously we take the position that doesn't actually exist in the Quran, or any correction. Even with what you just said now about Pharaoh, the question is, what does Pharaoh mean in Hebrew, not what did it mean in Egyptian? And in Hebrew, it means like the king, the ruler, the king. Just like you said, you have both used in Genesis. You have king and Pharaoh being used. But that'd be interesting to have that discussion with you guys. Actually, we probably get into that, I imagine.
So I wanted to touch on well, is there another question that we want to address before we continue?
Oh yeah, a couple more, and some of them before I actually asked it myself. Let's see. So Pendragon here says, do you believe that the Quran denies the crucifixion or the Jews being responsible for it? So he thought of the same question I did. If you are not Muslim, do you this already got addressed. So this must have been from earlier. If you're not Muslim, do you pray in Arabic, and why Allah didn't reveal the verse to find the prophet in the Bible? Why Allah didn't reveal the verse to find the prophet in the Bible? I guess the question there is, if the Quran is saying there are prophecies about Muhammad, why didn't he say which ones or something like that? I'm not sure.
I think it's referring to the Ahmad one, the one about Ahmad, which would be the one, the most glorified or the most praised figure, which is foreshadowed in the Bible as well. The most glorified or the most praised figure, the Son of Man, who's essentially in Arabic that word is Ahmad, the one who's most praised or most glorified. So we believe that there are some foreshadowing of Muhammad, and which are.
Yeah.
Granted, but yeah, both are
I think you got
prophesized.
disconnected. Yeah, both are
Is
prophesized. Yep.
is that a standard position that you guys believe Muhammad is the son of man in the Bible, or
Muhammad
is
is
that
the
just
son of
an
man? No,
individual?
not necessarily.
It's just an
No.
individual view of his. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Abdullah, is Muhammad the son of man that they talk about in the Bible? Is their question?
So
Not
there
universally,
is.
no.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Can
cut
you
out
guys
for a
hear me?
second, but you're back.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, but yeah, I got a phone call. My bad.
No problem.
So yes, I believe that there seems to be some sort of link there with the Son of Man, who is the most glorified figure. Like I'm saying, there's just some sort of there's like an argument there for that. But Isaiah 29, I believe Isaiah 22 and 29, both chapters sort of do again reflect this. I know there's some arguments on the other end of it as well. It'd be interesting to hear how you guys would sort of push back on that too. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we could. Maybe. Because we mainly want to understand your position on things and stuff. But if you guys want to have a future discussion and we could go through like the Islamic dilemma
Definitely,
and
yeah.
then what you
Sure,
guys think about
sure.
Muhammad and the Bible, that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yep.
definitely.
Oh, so kind of related to this, I forgot. I was going to ask before. So since you recite the Quran
No,
in
that's the question I was gonna answer.
in
Yeah.
English, do you? I'm guessing you don't do the. I don't want to be mean to to Muslims who aren't being, but like you don't recite it in
Oh,
English like that, right?
Yeah, the
Okay,
tajweed.
all right.
Tajweed.
We're not too much on the tajweed, but there is one exception to this, is that we do the key. We call it the key, chapter 1 of the Quran. We recite that in Arabic because of several reasons. It's a universal structure, and also the Arabic Quran is the
It's the
literal
key.
word of God, and it's the key, and it's coded. So that goes back to the mathematical composition of it. It has many elements. For example, when you recite it, your lips touch 19 times in the recitation, and that's what we use. We see it, we view it as like a phone number that you dial in your prayer to connect with God. But the requirement is you have to know what you're saying, so you have to definitely study it in English or whatever language you know to make sure
Well,
you understand what you
outside of that,
recited in Arabic.
everything else can be recited in your own
Yeah,
language, your own
outside of
tongue.
that, outside
So
of
yeah.
that, there's no requirement. Yeah.
And so obviously that's going to be Hafs version of the Fatiha in Arabic, right? You guys don't
Yes.
do it in another version, right?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's
So,
because
for
that's the
example,
one
the
that,
Malik and Malik, yeah, we go with Malik. So we do it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
and that's
Couple.
because that's what Rashad Khalifa chose, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Ben says Abdul on the bottom left. I forgot what he calls himself. It's Hussam, man. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, tear that food up, man. Don't feel ashamed. Oh yeah. This actually. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, is Ramadan the same for you, or is it
It's
different?
not exactly the same. It's pretty similar, but it's not
It's a
exactly
bit
the
different.
same.
Yeah.
Muslims believe in sighting of the moon. We don't need that. We have NASA now. We have very pinpoint accuracy when it comes to, phases of the moon and sun and everything. So we know exactly when the month starts. They have a lot of fights about this. Oh, it was cloudy, or we didn't see the moon, and all that kind of stuff. We have those differences. Also, the night of destiny for us is fixed. Rashad Khalifa proclaims it as the 27th night of Ramadan. So I know Muslims, especially Shias, they're saying, oh, it's one of the odd nights, or they're kind of confused about it. For us, the night of destiny is the 27th night of Ramadan. This year, I think is what, March 14, which is a
15.
Sunday, at least
15.
in, is it March 15? Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, so that's a difference with us. But yeah, basically all the pillars of traditional Islam are purified with us. None of them are identical to how the traditional Muslims perform them.
All
And
right.
so fasting is no eating, no drinking water, and no drinking
Yes,
at all. Okay.
yes,
Or
no
both or
eating,
something.
no drinking, and no sexual intercourse.
You've kind of already answered this. How do you view sources like Sirat Rasulullah? That's Ibn Ishaq. So here, I guess I'm guessing it's the same. You give the same response, but it's different. So you got the Hadith, and then you have the Sirah literature like Ibn Ishaq. Would you view that the sort of similar way to what you're saying about the Hadith?
Yeah, I mean, even those contain contradictions in them. So, for example, one of the points we use when we debate Sunnis, we say, okay, well, what are the contents of the final sermon of the prophet, the farewell pilgrimage, a sermon, and there's four versions of it, And you know they kind of squirm and cope and they say, oh well, it's the same contents, just reshuffled. It's not though. It's not. And so the Siras have one version, Bukhari has a different version, Mishkat al-Masaba has a different version, and so it's just not it. So it doesn't work. So can there be accurate information in there? Sure, there can be. Is it reliable? No, it's not. So we just go with whatever the Quran explicitly says. And another issue that another aspect of that is in the Quran in chapter 72, verse 26 and 27, it tells us that, let me read it. That's a good job. I rejected. So it says, he is a knower of the future. He does not reveal the future to anyone, only to a messenger that he chooses does he reveal from the past and the future specific news. And obviously we believe this includes the messenger of the covenant, Dr. Rashad Khalifa. So a lot of this historical stuff he just tells us outright. We believe just Angel Gabriel just told him outright, this is what happened with Muhammad. He married Khadija, this happened, Aisha wasn't 6 years old, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of those kinds of things we just get from Rashad directly. We don't need to go anywhere else.
Just a couple more here, and then we're through these. How do you reconcile the historical and biblical evidence that Abraham didn't do Salat or create the Kaaba, opposed to in Quran, or as opposed to in the Quran, Hadith, and Islam by Rashad Khalifa that says he did and was without circular reasoning?
It's hard to
I guess it
prove a
depends on what you
negative,
take.
right? Yeah, it's hard to prove a
It
negative.
depends on what you take as historical.
Abdullah, you got cut out, but I mean, look, this gets brought up a lot. Are you guys are using circular reasoning, and it's not the case because we're relying on independent analysis and conclusions. So this all goes back to the miracle, the code 19. Either we accept the miracle, we acknowledge it, or we don't. If there's no miracle, then a lot of this stuff falls apart. But if there is a miracle, then it's the truth, and that's it. And so we believe the code 19 miracle has been objectively identified, verified. It's irrefutable. It's something that can be examined and can be established through basic logic and science. And so there's no way around that. Once we acknowledge this is a miracle, it kind of just triggers a chain reaction. The Quran's proven, Messenger of Covenant's proven, and then you get this whole package deal that comes together. So for us, that's that. But there are interesting aspects of it. Some of it Rashad Khalifa himself discovered. Some that was discovered later when it comes to the Code 19 stuff and Salat, for example. We talked about the number of times your lips touched, that's 19, but their unit system, the Muslims known as Rakat system, it's 24434. That's a multiple of 19. The digits add up to 17, which is the the digits of the multiple of 19, or 19 times 1286. Those digits add up to 17 again. So there are all kinds of interesting things that came after the fact, but the point is that we don't need to rely on any of that. Once you affirm Rashad Khalifa as a messenger, we would treat him the way Muslims say they would treat Muhammad when it comes to like hadith and stuff. It's like, okay, that's it. He has the final say, and you kind of have to just hear and obey.
Here we have the German scholars took the dots out of the Arabic Quran and added Aramaic dots and its church hymns to Jesus. Come on, who believes who believes German scholars on this stuff, man? German scholars are all over the place, man. Those guys will say anything. Don't know if you guys want to respond to that, but oh my goodness, German scholars.
You know what to say.
There's all kinds of
I don't know what
theories
to
about
say,
the Quran. Yeah, there's all kinds of theories about the Quran is in Aramaic and to move around the dots. We don't accept any of this kind of stuff. And someone asked in the chat, well, what do you think about the Ahmadiyas? Look, Ahmadiyas believe in Hadith. They believe in Hadith. He claims to be a prophet. Muhammad's already the final prophet. And their Shahada is not God alone. He's just a false prophet. And what was his miracle? Diarrhea? Didn't he die of chronic diarrhea? That's not a miracle. So that's not comparable. People accuse us of being Baha'is or being Ahmadiyas, but we're just not. That's not it. And we don't adhere to things that they adhere to. Baha'is don't even follow the Quran, and Ahmadiyas believe in Hadith. So these are two different doctrines than us.
On the issue, this is a question. This was a follow-up to Son of Man, and it's Pendragon asked, Son of Man as in Daniel 7, Son of Man, the one riding the clouds? So I guess, is he asking if that's, we've heard some Muslim apologists recently say that that's referring to Muhammad in Daniel 7. That's where Daniel gets he says, in my night visions I saw one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. Don't know if you guys
Correct.
have a
And
perspective on
the
that, or
Quran, yeah, the Quran actually, there's a verse as well that talks about how it's going to be on the day of judgment that the God will come down with the angels in the clouds as like again an Arabic expression, an idiom to sort of show that God is going to reveal Himself to us. Again, there are these are all like ancient, basically just ancient, idioms and expressions that we're trying to make sense of today, right, in the modern age. So there are some, like again, there's some sort of foreshadowing. There's some evidence there. We can get more into it again, like I said, next time. If you guys like, I haven't really got all my materials in front of me right now, too. Just out on the road working.
Yeah, we can have a
I
future
just think
discussion about that.
I think that the point there is, though, because like you said, even in the Quran you have Allah like riding the clouds, and so the idea is that if the Son of Man rides the clouds, and there's like 70 or so different references to God riding the clouds elsewhere in the Old Testament, that would seem to suggest or make it highly probable that the Son of Man is actually divine, because he's doing something that only God does. And so that's what they're responding to when you said, if Muhammad is the Son of Man, you're actually unknowingly like making him into a deity.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying it's like again ancient text with modern interpretation. That things do tend to get a little bit, like, I guess, conflated. There are, so like, for instance, there is the thing with Abraham, the offering of Ishmael or Isaac, the debate between which one was it, and how, if you look at like some of the earliest Hebrew, again, sorry, not to change the topic, I just gonna give an example of how, if you look at like the earliest translations of the Hebrew Bible, it separates Isaac and Ishmael there, but then if you look at some of the newer translations, it seems to be talking about just purely Isaac. So that there's, again, this is like what I mean, but it's a lot of, actually Rashad mentions this too, that a lot of what we have with in terms of disagreements with even with the Bible and with the Quran too, by the way, we see this a lot, is translation issues, or just how we interpret those ancient texts. Because 500 years ago, English would be almost impossible to understand if we didn't actually have knowledge of it. Imagine 1,500 years ago of the Quran, and then 2,000 years ago of the Bible, of the New Testament, and so on and so forth. Right? Again, not to say we've lost it, we can't understand it at all. I just think it takes either a sincere heart or an educated person to be able to make sense of these texts. And that's why we have the messenger. The messenger sort of helps us to reconcile these issues between us, the differences, to be able to bring, to unify. That was his main role, as the unifying messenger.
But he doesn't identify Muhammad as the Son of Man.
Well, no, I mean, he never actually.
I'm not aware of that.
Speaks on
I'm not aware of that.
No, I'm not aware of that as well. No, he doesn't speak about this.
All right. And okay, we're just. Do they take the story of Momo and the Al-Zut? No. And that should be their Exhibit A. And why not to go to the Hadith? That should be like Exhibit A right there.
Correct. One of them. Yes.
Okay. So, and now the last these final two are clarifications. Said, how do you know the guy? Don't know. So Rashad Khalifa didn't just take things out that he didn't like in Islam. So was he just saying, "Hey, I don't like all this stuff that the Sunnis got over here. I'm gonna get rid of that." I guess that's what the objection.
Well, I understand the question, but it's like there's things you can't, like, so the source is still the Quran, right? All his arguments, all his justifications, all of his rulings come from the Quran. So like stoning in Islam, it's just not in the Quran. What are we supposed to do? It's just not there. You know what I mean? So like apostasy law is another one. There is no explicit apostasy law in the Quran. It comes from the Hadith. Whoever changes their religion, you kill them. Mm-hmm. So, we still go by the Quran. We still have a translation of the Quran. If we were to rely on Hadith, I think it would be difficult to get out of these Islamic rulings. But when you go by the Quran, these things just aren't the main issues that are a contention or violence or all these different things. They're just not there. And so in his appendix 33 of his translation, Dr. Rashad Khalifa talks about, a wide range of issues in traditional Islam that are just not based in the Quran. gouging out or saying that Muhammad gouged out people's eyes, prohibiting music and the arts, weird diet, strange dietary laws. Our dietary law is very simple, saying that Muhammad had sexual power of 30 men, saying that women, anyone who steals, cut their hand off, and so there's a lot of things that just got purified. So when it comes to the Quran itself, he obviously identified two fake verses, but those verses don't contain any laws in them. So it's not like, oh, there was a verse on stoning and then he just got rid of it because he didn't like it. We just don't have that in our in the Quran and in our religion.
Yeah. And speaking of the how to treat the thieves, we don't cut off their hands, we just cut their hands. The word in the Arabic is qata, and that same word is used in 1231 for when the woman of Joseph cut their hands when they saw Joseph. But obviously, they didn't cut off their hands, they just cut their hands. And the exact same word is used in 538. And even in 545, a few verses after, it says equal retaliation for wounds. So cutting off someone's hand for stealing is not equal retaliation.